For the draft, there's a million possible scenarios floating around. I didn't get a chance to hear, though, because we've been so wrapped up in the hoops. How did you grade out? What was your synopsis of the Titans and the Rams deal? How'd you grade that out?
Well, first of all, you can't grade these deals until they're done. And everybody says, well, that's a stock answer. Well, it's true. Look at the RG3 deal, which is a parallel to this. Okay? You got to go a couple of years and just see where you are with the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this much. I think the Rams had to make a move. They were kind of in neutral. They needed a quarterback. They're moving to a new city. L.A. is a star city. They'll sell it out this year, but they better have something to make them buy the tickets next year.
But
so it's a gamble, but that's the way. And for Tennessee, they had the left tackle and they had the quarterback.
Uh-huh.
So they've got to convert all these picks into players that can help them win a championship, not just a bunch of guys.
Yeah, and they could actually, and the reports say they're actually trying to scoot back in the top 10. They've got an abundance of assets, so they've got a ton of flexibility. I guess it's just a dangerous game, one that I wouldn't necessarily subscribe to, and you nailed it. The L.A. market requires stars. But, I mean, if you live by that mantra, you operate by that mantra, then you can wind up chasing your tail for a couple of years and basically envisioning or overstating a player's worth to pacify fans. I don't know if I love that philosophy.
No, there's a gamble. There's no question there's a gamble. Absolutely in this one. And I think sometimes – the Rams have kind of been in this mode of building with a lot of young players, and you get to that point where you go make a move. In '99 with the Redskins, we were at that, and we were kind of stuck in neutral, and we made the trade to get Brad Johnson from the Minnesota Vikings, and turned around, won the division. He threw for 4,000 yards and went to the Pro Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there was a gamble. There's no question. He was an injured player. There's a gamble here. You're taking a rookie. How good's a rookie going to be? So, there's a gamble there.
Are you scared off? Take us through the process. And we're talking to Charley Casserly, NFL Network analyst here on Tiki and Tierney. The evaluation process of Goff versus Wentz, clearly the Pac-12 superior to whatever conference, I don't even know the name of it, that Wentz played at in college. So when you look at film of Wentz, what mechanism do you use to try to even it out and evaluate it on a fair plane with Goff?
Anytime you're taking a lower level comp guy from that division and trying to convert him to an NFL prospect at a higher division, there's two things you look for. Number one, does he have the physical characteristics to play in the NFL? Could he go start at Cal? Answer is yes. He's a big, strong-arm guy, athletic, so he has the physical characteristics. Does he have the mental characteristics? Yes. Okay. Does he dominate the level of comp he's at? The answer is yes. So, again, it's still a projection, but he's got to check those two boxes. He went to the Senior Bowl, did not look out of place, looked like he should be there. So that's another box you check there. Joe Flacco, you go to comparisons. Who do we have in history that's done this? Joe Flacco's a recent guy, Delaware, Baltimore. Okay, he's a better athlete and a prospect coming out of college than Flacco, but you still have the conversion to the higher level, how long that's going to take. And the team he's with has a lot to do with it, too. Flacco and Roethlisberger, though Roethlisberger was much higher than Flacco, they went to the right teams. Good running games, strong defenses, didn't need him to play well in the beginning to win.
Mm-hmm. Charlie, evaluating body types, and I watched Goff in person a little bit in Northern California when he first went there as a young kid, and I liked him right away. But, when we talk about body types, you hear a lot of pundits say, well, just, tack on some functional weight, and in a couple of years when he grows into his body, the body will match the arm and the intellect. And oftentimes it does. There's just a general physical maturation process that comes with age. But there are certain bodies that just don't put on good functional weight. And how do you determine if Goff is that person or not?
You look at the bone structure, but everybody can get bigger and stronger with lifting weights and fill out on that part. I think that's what people are thinking about him. Teddy Bridgewater, the discussion was the same coming out of college, yet since he's been in the league, nobody's discussed his body type. See?
True. That's true.
I think the good lifting programs build up bulk and strength.
Talking to Charley Casserly, NFL Network analyst, Tiki, and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio. What is your philosophy? I hit this a few minutes ago. Jaylon Smith, the star from Notre Dame, who really has an uphill battle physically. He's got issues in terms of his knee, but also there's a nerve regeneration. So clearly it looks like it's going to take on a medical redshirt type of deal. But if you're a GM who's feeling the pinch to win, or a young head coach who, let's face it, can't go 4-12 again without getting whacked. How do you justify taking him and putting him on the shelf for a year or so? That's it's a tough dance.
Well, it's a bonus pick, okay? So clearly, you want to be in a position where you don't need the player that's on the board next to Jaylon Smith at that time. When you get to that point in your draft where you're saying it's less than 50-50, this guy can play for us, that's when Jaylon Smith comes into the discussion. Clearly, a team that's strong, a team with multiple picks that can sit on the guy, farm him out for the year, those are the teams that were more apt to consider him than a team that's got a losing record that it's got to line up and go play.
Mm-hmm. Is there
But that doesn't mean a team like that shouldn't take a chance and have some foresight to bury this guy for a year, but you better bury him for a year with management knowing that's going to hurt you.
Correct. You better have
the
good
patience to live through it.
No doubt. If you don't have good communication with management, you're probably doing yourself a disservice. No, I totally understand that. Joey Bosa, obviously. Elliott's a couple of names for the Buckeyes that we all know nationally. Tunsil, the big kid from Mississippi, who apparently is dropping a bit. Miles Jack. There's, we do this and we start ripping through the top 10 and organizational needs, and invariably we tend to overrate a lot of players. Who is the one player that you think people are underrating that squeezes into the top 10 that right now most people don't view as a top 10 pick? Anybody?
I think the top 10 are pretty well set as far as I'm going to answer your question, but DeForest Buckner of Oregon, who probably is the least known of the guys we're talking about, probably has the highest value for the least known. If there's a guy, and what you're going to find, the defensive ends are all over the place after Bosa, okay? But a guy that I like, Kevin Dodd, who could sneak into Tampa by need for a defensive end, that's a possible name. And I think he goes in the next 10 after the top 10.
Okay. I like Buckner as well. My only concern, and maybe I'm overstating this, 6'7" is certainly an advantage in a lot of regards, but in terms of the technical aspect of doing what you have to do, when you have long limbs, you've got to be perfect. Any concern that I know this is going to sound odd to some, that he's almost too tall for the position?
Well, can he bend? And watching the tape, I thought the guy really had good knee bend and can play with leverage. So when watching him play, I didn't see that problem. I understand the question, though.
Okay.
It's a legitimate question.
I got you. Hey, Charlie, what would you do if you're running the Jets right now? And obviously, you're built to win now. Revis is getting up there. Marshall's getting up there. Decker's not a kid. You're bringing Forte. I think he could still play, but he's not a kid. The old line with Mangold's getting up there. Obviously, Fitzpatrick is what he is. He's not getting 15 or 16 million. Everybody knows that. There's no market for him right now except New York, apparently. But do you run the risk of alienating him? And I know that it's a business, so you're not going to throw him a few extra million just to pacify him. How would you handle the Fitzpatrick negotiations?
Well, you kind of answered the question with the question and say we're not going to throw him a few extra million just to pacify him, okay? But the answer to say how I would handle it, it's not a hard one because you want the employee, the player, to feel good about himself when he comes in and be happy and don't be a problem in the locker room. But it was an impossible situation created by I'm not sure who. When the player got in the mind he was worth that amount of money. And he's a smart guy. He can figure this stuff out himself. But it should have been tempered immediately and say, Fitz, you're not going to get the money out there. It's not there. So just get it out of your mind right now. That should have been drilled into his head right away. And he probably would have fired the agent if he said it to him.
Yeah, probably. Okay? But to be fair,
to answer your question, okay, I don't want to ignore the question.
No, good.
I $20 million over 2 years. That's my line. It's over. We're moving on. And, as long as I can wait, I'm going to wait, Fitz. But I'm going to wake up one morning and I'm going to tell you it's over. Okay? And we're going with Gino. We're going with Petty. Maybe we sign Hoyer, and we're moving on.
Do you believe
this team? You're right. It's a win now, rebuild. It's the most difficult situation in the league because they drafted so poor for so many years that they got a huge hole in their roster and they're short draft picks. So it is a tough position to be in. And what you can't do is build up dead money down the road. And when he has no offers, Doesn't that tell you something?
Trust me, I'm a Jets fan. I
Yeah.
know who he is. I'm under no illusion. I think last year was an overachievement. He threw a lot of 50-50 balls that Marshall bailed him out on. He's a smart
Yeah.
guy. He fits well in the locker room, but he is what he is, man. We all know. I mean, people who know football know he is what he can't throw a deep ball. He's got no arm.
Right. And if I'm the Jets, I want this guy back too. He's great in the locker room. He's a leader.
Yeah.
They got momentum with him. They absolutely want the guy back. But it is a business, and you're offering more money than anybody else in the league.
I hear you. So, Charlie, we can see you throughout the week. You guys do outstanding work. Listen, I put on the NFL Network at least once a day. It's in the rotation. I mean, during the off season. During the season, it's always on. You guys are doing Path to the Draft at 6 Eastern, NFL Total Access at 7. Of course, NFL Network, all the live coverage, 2016 NFL Draft coming up next week in Chicago. Charlie, good stuff. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, always a pleasure to be with you.
You got it.